So a little introduction. My name is Daniel Patricio. I'm a product manager here at Shopify. I'm the product manager on the merchant marketing team, which is an R&D team based in Toronto. And we work on products that help our merchants get more sales and kind of grow their businesses. What I'm about to talk to you today is the Marketing Events API, which is a product that my team has worked on to help merchants make it easier to track their marketing, which is something that works with apps. So we're going to walk through and talk through the API, and I'm open to any questions that you might have, and we'll address those at the end. So feel free to get them in there. So what we're going to talk through today, I'm going to talk through some of the benefits of the API and why we built it and some of the important thinking that has gone into it and how building into the API is going to really help your application and help you grow. I'm going to go through a couple details of kind of constructing and creating marketing events and how some of the different permutations of how those work for different marketing types. And then I want to talk to some of the advanced features we have in the API and some of the other exciting ones we have around the corner. So let's get into it. So an important thing for me is that, you know, marketing, as a product manager at Shopify and solving the problem of marketing, apps are an integral part of how our merchants do marketing. And about 50% of merchants that sign up this year will install a marketing app. But something we found is that a lot of merchants actually didn't know how to track what these marketing apps were doing. And in looking at the merchants that could track things, we found that merchants that have tracking attached to their marketing are 10 times more successful than those that don't. So it's been a very important focus for my team, and one of the first areas we started, where we said, how can we really help merchants by helping them see how an app is working? Because the apps are doing the marketing. It just makes sense for us to start from there. So the Marketing Events API does two things for you. And I'm going to explain a bit what a marketing event is in a little bit. But Marketing Events API is about giving credit to apps for the impact they're creating. So I have my own store in addition to what I do here at Shopify, and I have a lot of apps installed on my store. And it's kind of crazy that every time I get that bill every month, when I actually look at it and I look at all the apps I have installed, I sometimes actually struggle to figure out what an app is doing for me, right? And what the impact is. And that's quite a shame, because a lot of these apps I know are creating value for me, but if I can't quantify it and I can't see the results from it, it really doesn't help me. The second thing is the benefits it provides to app developers is it is going to affect your ranking. So, you know, as a product manager at Shopify, there's many ways I could pick. To recommend apps or to rank them and figure out which ones are better. But I'd much rather use the actual results that I know this is going to benefit a merchant in there. So as an app developer, if you have a marketing app and it is doing meaningful things for developers, I want to give you credit for the impact that you have. But also, I don't want ranking and recommendations to be a black box for you. In a black and white way, you know, your app will be evaluated based on the traffic you drive for merchants. So let's go into what a marketing event actually is. So the purpose of a marketing event is to help a merchant understand the actions that are driving traffic. So, you know, in analyzing traffic, you can sometimes, if we're just looking at who referred the merchant, for example, you know, the customer, sorry, you might see that, okay, this merchant got, you know, 100 visits from Facebook, but that alone isn't very useful, because a merchant might do many things on Facebook to drive that traffic. They probably have a Facebook page, they're probably buying Facebook ads, They also have their personal timeline where they might share something they're really proud of. They might have like an organic sharing campaign that they're doing through a loyalty program or something like that. So when they look in Shopify and say, okay, great, I got 100 visits from Facebook, it really isn't very useful. And what we really, really want to do here is to help merchants understand the actions that are driving that traffic. So in action are those, actions are those things that are done in your app on behalf of a merchant to merchant products, discounts, and discounts or products or anything like that. And the important detail here is that you are driving unique traffic, right? So for the moment, the marketing events API doesn't cover what we call storefront apps, such as pop-ups and those sort of things. What we really want to analyze is what are the ways your app is like uniquely driving traffic. So whether that's sending emails, creating a unique link for affiliates, creating a Facebook ad, offering something to get a loyalty program that's getting people re-engaged. Anywhere where there's that unique action that your app is taking on behalf of a merchant. The third important part of a marketing event is that these things need to be modeled to target multiple potential customers. So a very simple example is we really want to try and analyze the strategy, like the traffic strategy, versus like, you sent 1,000 emails. We don't want to create 1,000 marketing events. It's important from the merchant perspective that if you're creating drip emails, for example, to have a single event for the type of email, because from a traffic perspective, you don't particularly care which exact link a merchant clicked on, like an individual customer clicked on, sorry, but rather how was your strategy of offering a coupon 3 days after they made the order? How is that strategy overall performing versus say an email that you sent a month after they purchased, right? So you want to model the events at a strategy level rather than per email or per action necessarily. So I've told you a little bit about what marketing events are, and I'll tell you a little bit about the people that are using them so far. So we started working on the marketing events API. We announced it in November. So we worked on it for most of last year and released it in November. And some of the early partners we worked on, kind of quite a wide scope of merchants. So MailChimp in the email area, Kit, who does email and Facebook ads and social posts. We did it with our own Facebook integrations. Lots of great email apps here, follow-up email apps like Conversio, it's Bentley, retargeting ads with Shoelace, and loyalty campaigns and like from Swell and that sort of thing, and also affiliate stuff from Reversion. So we kind of had a mix of partners, some of our top marketing apps building off this. And the experience we really wanted to create was, again, this is kind of the new redesigned Shopify, but you can see this in your Shopify store today, where when a merchant gets traffic, for example, from MailChimp or my Kit ad or anything else I have going on my store, it is, from a merchant's perspective, it is very clear how they can analyze that traffic or those sales that come from it. And this also goes further to when an order comes in, a merchant can see right on when the order comes in, whether that order came from their email newsletter or a first Facebook post, for example. We really want to just simplify this experience for merchants. So as an app developer, if you're really driving this impact for merchants, you should get credit, and that's valuable from a merchant to do it, to see that, right? And from a merchant perspective, we don't want them to have to do a million different things to try and figure out where their traffic or where their sales are coming from. So we really on the same page there with what we want there, and we think that merchant experience is one that would really benefit our app developers as well. So talking about those options for recommendation, again, if you look in the marketing section of the App Store right now, it's kind of a bit of a mixed bag on how things are organized there. And we're gonna be very soon going to be changing the ranking of this to very explicitly be around based on the marketing events and the success rate of different merchants. We're going to be using that as the inputs into ranking this. So if you have an app that's doing marketing and it's driving traffic and you're not using the marketing events API, you're going to have far fewer opportunities for recommendation. And we're also using this input that we have around ranking apps in Shopify in various places. So this is something we shared at Unite and something we're going to be launching quite soon, which is the promote bar in different parts of Shopify. So if your app has app links and you have marketing events, we are going to rank all the places where we're recommending apps by those that have marketing events and what the effects there are. So this is just, again, part of the way if you're building a marketing app in Shopify, it's the best experience both for merchants and for app developers. So now I'm going to jump into a little more tangible parts of the use cases. I'm not showing everything that you might find in the docs. Though in the question and answer period, I'm happy to go through them. What I'm going to take you through right now is the 3 primary use cases and some of the more important parts, the important endpoints that we look for in creating a marketing event. So first, let me walk you through a relatively basic use case, quite a typical use case that a merchant might see and typical app developer might see. So here I am. I have an email campaign I'm creating in MailChimp. And in my email, I obviously have a link, right, which is going to my product page. See that over there. And in that link, it's a best practice to be able to track that traffic properly. Because if I just was linking to the product page, for example, with no unique way of identifying it, it's going to be pretty hard to identify that traffic. So what people like MailChimp do is they add, for them it's under Google Analytics link tracking. So they add these things called UTM parameters, which is like a convention from Google Analytics, onto all the URLs for a campaign. And it's quite simple, and this helps us recognize when traffic is coming in from this campaign, which campaign it is, and we can associate it back to that action. So in this case, my campaign name is double up 3, and MailChimp has added that to the URL that I have, and they're gonna, when I'm about to send my campaign here, they are going to send that marketing event to me. So the benefit here is, as a merchant, as soon as I start getting traffic here, all this traffic is going to be categorized and easy for me to see. So let's go through how that might look for email. So the first important thing you're going to need is in your scopes, you're going to need the ability to write marketing events. And then when you're creating a marketing event, there's a bunch of variables that you're going to want to add. So the 2 most important ones are what we call event type and marketing channel. So for event type, you can see this as the top kind of row there. We have the option set is ad, post, message, search engine marketing or SEM, transaction, affiliate, and loyalty. So in this case, and then we have the marketing channels, which cover search, display, social, email, and referral. So in this case, we are doing an email, it's an email channel, and we are sending, a newsletter, which I forgot from the top here. Don't mind me. Or you could use message in this case. And these sets are strongly typed, so you got to use one of these options. But if you do see any issues with any of these, you're welcome to contact your API, anyone in the dev relations team, and we can certainly add them to the list. But the important thing here is we wanted to keep it generalized in a way to capture all types of traffic while making it specific enough to be useful for merchants. So here in the request that we have, you are telling us what the marketing event type is. Next, we have those UTM parameters. So these are parameters added to your URL. So there's 3 primary ones that we listen to. So there's source, medium, and campaign. So these things, in this case, as I have them here, look very similar to the event type and marketing channel. But the reason is that these are not strongly defined, and we wanted to give many merchants have their own schemes for UTM parameters, so we didn't want to kind of limit them. So in this case, that email I just sent out there, you know, my UTM, source, and medium are relatively the same as the type and channel that we have modeled in Shopify. My campaign name might be Canada Day 2016, and I've added a timestamp to it. And the important thing there is that each of your campaign names do need to be unique, so that we can, because we want to model everything at the action level. So if it is an action that continues, that is fine. But if you're creating ads, if you send email newsletters, the merchant probably wants to identify those uniquely. So it's important that you do keep those unique, and they will fail if you don't have them in there. And you know, in your app, you're probably going to have a URL that looks something like this. So everything after that question mark is going to be in the URL. And you are sending this to us so that basically when we detect this event in Shopify, we can kind of join all the traffic that we're seeing from this and this marketing event. So at the time we like run home, we can go and look and say, oh, awesome, you know, this email marketing app told us to look out for this traffic, and for the merchant, we can say, hey, this is that email newsletter you're looking for, right? And we can kind of improve that, and we can add more kind of data to it. So the next part of a marketing, when you're creating a marketing event, is the resources you can attach. So this is useful because we can do a lot of reporting, and we can also understand what types of products your app is really good at marketing and that kind of thing. So in the marketed resources section, there's several different types of resources you can put in here. You can put products, you can put discounts, you can put pages as well. And this is a feature that like we really encourage this, because as I said, when we're ranking and building recommendation systems, we also want to know which apps are very good for certain types of products and that sort of thing. So the more and more data you can give us here, it's really helpful in us finding the right app for the right merchant. So again, once I've added all this metadata, when that order comes in, we're going to start showing more and more details from your marketing event in the context of things. Because for us, also, there's so many more interesting layers here. And the more we know about type of traffic, the more we know about your app, the more our teams can build a better experience for merchants around it. So again, let's flip through some of these examples and some of the different ways they're constructed. So if I were to send an email, I would use that event type of newsletter and the marketing channel for email. We also have a description field, which allows you to put a human readable message in there, which will be rendered in Shopify and will make a bit more sense to the merchant. The UTM campaign parameters can usually get quite messy, and it's kind of machine readable. We wanted to add this description field so you could kind of see it and see the whole thing there. You can also create a Facebook ad. So in the case of a Facebook ad, the event type would be ad. The marketing channel would be social. We have a field for whether it's paid or organic, which is useful for identifying paid traffic from social. And you can add the referring domain here. So this is a Facebook ad, but if it was an Instagram ad, we just have that Instagram as the referring domain. And you can just kind of interchange it that way. And again, we're using the description field to make it simple and clear for a merchant to kind of read. A third example, which kind of applies to a lot of cases, is like an affiliate link. So in this case, the event type is an affiliate, the marketing channel is referral. Referring domain might be BuzzFeed, and there might be a listicle or an article that's on BuzzFeed, and I want to make that clear. Maybe add the article name right in there. So that's kind of the basics of what a marketing event kind of looks like. I can, in the Q&A, we can, all the docs and all the fields are all public there. And if you ever have any questions, we can dive into them either later in the session or with your dev relations person that you work with. So next I want to kind of share a little bit of the advanced features that we've been adding to the platform. So there's two pieces here. One is the engagement API, and the second one is attribution, which I've kind of hinted at in some of my earlier slides. So the engagement API acts on it's kind of context that you can add onto a marketing event. So, for example, in email campaigns, you have open rates, right? So people click and open your emails. In social networks like Facebook or Instagram, people can comment on your posts. They can share them. There's an ad spend associated to those things. There's all this interesting kind of metadata that comes along when you are marketing. And we kind of wanted to find a way to help merchants understand the data that's higher up in the funnel. So a very simple example of this is if I was creating a Facebook ad, every day or several times a day, you can give us an update on the count of impressions, ad spend, and there's a whole bunch of other variables we have. So comments, a whole bunch of other fields, sorry. Comments, share count, everything like that. And you can do this either as like a cumulative total that you send to us throughout the day, or you can just send it to us in several times through the day, and we can add them together. So this data right now, it's mostly being used by a lot of our people that are doing email and ad data. And we're currently working with them to find ways of visualizing that for merchants. And it's definitely powering a lot of the recommendation systems we have in Shopify. So you definitely don't need to use the engagement API. And I would strongly recommend not using it if it isn't applicable to what you have and the types of marketing events that you have. But if you do have data kind of from these third parties that like add some it fills in some context around the engagement higher in that funnel, you should definitely consider using the engagement API. So the next kind of advanced feature that we're looking to build off the marketing events API is our attributions. So historically, we've found in looking at a large amount of our traffic, on average, an order has about 4 visits. And in the past, we've kind of just shown the first session that might happen, the first impression. And in this case, we have an order which has 4 different things. It has a Google search, someone just came back to the site, there's a MailChimp email, there's a kit retargeting ad. So in this case, Shopify might say, oh, this order came as a result of a Google search. And then MailChimp might say, well, they opened this email within a certain window of receiving our email. They definitely bought because of the MailChimp email, right? And Kit might say the same thing as well. And they say, well, somebody saw one of the ads that we created and they bought. And obviously that's order should belong to Kit. And the reality is all of these things are an important part of the story. So an important thing that we're going to be releasing over the next couple of weeks is starting to expose the full attribution of an order and all the different sources of it. of where that traffic came from. So that's really something where if your app isn't using marketing events, we really can't give you kind of credit for it. But if you can, we can start doing more intelligent things with it. Because there's many apps that, you know, might very often find themselves at the middle or at the end of like the customer journey. And those might not be visualized right now, but we know how important that is and what the impact of those apps are. So we really want to, using marketing events, we can really build off that and surface that and give your app credit. So in summary, again, just kind of cover some of the stuff we talked to today. We talked through some of the benefits of the API, gave you a little touch into the quick start of how you can start to use this API and some of the intricacies of some of the fields, and kind of gave you a little hint at some of the advanced features that we have ahead of us. So again, when it comes to the benefits of the platform, marketing events and traffic is really going to be the foundational way that we evaluate all marketing apps and how we rank them. So if you're building a marketing app that's driving traffic, it's incredibly important that you are thinking about how marketing events, how you can use marketing events to surface what your app is doing. And again, this is a product that has a whole team behind it, and we're very invested in it. And we put quite a bit of effort into kind of documenting all the pieces. So if you have any questions about what you found in there, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we're happy to help. So now I think we're going to jump into some Q&A. So I'm going to start working through the questions here, if you have any questions. Okay. So I have a question here from Amy Reams. What about campaigns with personalized product recommendations? So it sounds like, so campaigns with personalized recommendations. If I well, there's two ways I think that could work. Campaigns with personalized recommendations, there's no reason that shouldn't be modeled in marketing events. The question is, for example, Conversio does do personalized product recommendations, so does MailChimp via email, and they send them out that way. If you're doing product recommendations on the product page, that is what we'd call like a storefront app, and that is something that is not modeled in Shopify at the moment, or at least on the pages. Just because for the moment, that isn't unique traffic. It is kind of like an interaction that happens while the customer is on the page. Great. So another question for Amy, from Amy Reams. Will the full attribution be available in purchase webhooks? So we're still working kind of on the API design around attribution. For the moment, I believe it's going to be scoped to your app. So you will be able to see what attributions your app was responsible for on an order. Okay, next question here from Aiden Tekol. What kind of UTM tagging should we use as an in-store recommendation app? Upsell, cross-sell, etc. So again, you probably should use UTM tagging. It will definitely help, and like this is a problem that this falls into the storefront apps like problem set. If you aren't adding any UTM tagging, we will never be able to tell what your app is really doing. So I'd recommend adding UTM tagging there. Though again, in the short term, the way we are visualizing marketing events created by storefront apps, it is not visualized as part of the attribution at the moment. All right, so we have another question from Luke, which also relates to pop-ups. Okay. Luke has another question. How do we ask for new scope permissions for current users? I mean, I think if you update, this is kind of like a standard kind of part of adding any other scope into your app. So the next time the merchant needs to authenticate, it's going to ask for the new scope permissions. Again, I might not be the perfect person to ask about it, but it's something a lot of our app developers have kind of done. Okay, we have another question here from Asa Carter. I have an unusual use case. Can I contact you directly to see if it's something I can do? Yeah, certainly. You can reach out to any of our dev relations people, and they should be able to help you with the API, or they can put you in contact with me, and I'll be happy to help. Okay, next question we have from Mohammed Qadri. As a user, not developer, how can we know which apps in Shopify App Store use marketing events API? So right now we don't have a way of showing that in the App Store, but very soon all the top apps in the marketing section will be using the marketing events API. Okay, next question from Nancy Riley. Wasn't clear on the marketing resources fields. Do you have to specify which products are being marketed by an event, and how is that info used by Shopify? Used in Shopify? So it is an optional field. It's not a required field, but it's very helpful for us to be able to understand which product you are promoting in those events. Right now, we don't visualize it in many places, but what we've been exploring is how we might use that in reporting. So in evaluating like which marketing methods work best for which products, and in our recommendation systems, and looking at what apps are the best for which products. So we have a question here from Scott King. When is it not ideal to send marketing events? Are there any cases you can share where sending marketing events wouldn't be beneficial or not give the expected results? That is a hard question to answer. I would say marketing events are explicitly useful if you're driving unique traffic. Like if you aren't driving the traffic, the marketing events aren't going to be very useful. The second thing I would say is if you're doing like transactional emails and that sort of thing, if you are not, if you're sending a marketing event for literally every email you send to every customer, that makes it not very useful. Because when a merchant's looking like at that grain, a marketing event is just for every marketing event, whether it got a single, they'll mostly have just a single visit or 0 visits. Whereas what's more valuable for a merchant is to be able to analyze, rather than, you know, of the 100, 1,000 emails I sent today, did they work? It's more important about what were the types of actions I took as a merchant that led to those emails. So sure, your app might have sent 100 emails, but a merchant might have only created 1 email template. So it's more important to model the marketing events at the merchant action level. So I'd say, in summary, again, track when you model merchant behaviors, not your app's behaviors, and try and only model like unique traffic. So next question from Asa Carter. Is it possible to get engagements with the API? I don't see it in the docs. So I believe you will have, well, you only can get the marketing events and engagements that you create. That are created by your app in those cases. I think that should answer your question. Are there any other questions we have? So I have a question from Mohammed here, Mohammed Kadri. Will that may replace marketing automation system? I'm not sure I understand the question, but I think the important thing is this is at the tracking layer. So the marketing events helps merchant visualize the actions that are being taken by a thing, but it doesn't have any direct functionality to do the automation. For example, Conversio is doing like their own marketing automation. MailChimp's doing their own email marketing and email automation, and we're helping visualize the activities, but it definitely doesn't replace it. Luke is asking, will all storefront marketing apps be ranked lower going forward? No, the important thing there is that they are kind of different categories of things. So we are working with the team here that's working on the taxonomy of apps. So we're updating the categories of apps because like we know that storefront marketing apps are incredibly important for increasing conversion rate, but it is different from driving traffic. So a different problem. Okay, next question here from Parker Woodward. I think it's the same question as the last one there. So Scott King has a question here. When does that table of marketing event engagements show up in the main Shopify admin page? Just curious, as I haven't been able to see anything similar on my front page. So it works when you get traffic from a marketing event. So the report in, or the card in home, the table of marketing events shows up when you have traffic from a marketing event, and the report is available all the time. So if you look into your reports, there is a report on traffic by marketing event and sales by marketing event. So those are always there, kind of works with the same data. And in home, it shows up when we can see traffic in that time period. All right, so that looks like all the questions. I think I maybe have time for one more if anyone has anything there. I can see a question here from Asa Carter. This will be the last question I'll take. And you feel free to reach out to us anytime afterwards. If a link on the storefront uses UTM parameters, will this still override the original UTM source with this update? If this update fixes this issue, is it available now? I wouldn't say it's an issue, and I wouldn't say it should, like there's an issue that needs to be fixed. So the important part is, that's why I mentioned that like the marketing events don't cover storefront apps for the moment. The marketing events API as it works right now is about categorizing traffic. So if someone came to your site via a Facebook ad, we don't want to overwrite that, right? It's still true that a person came through a Facebook ad. It is probably useful for a merchant to capture the fact that they saw and interacted with, let's say, a pop-up, which it sounds like this case is. However, it would never overwrite it, and it would never update it. As I said, one of the future things we will be looking into is the right way to kind of model the storefront apps and their interactions with customers, but that's very different from the problem of modeling traffic. Great. So thank you everyone for joining us today, and I hope you built some great stuff with the Marketing Events API. And if you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out. If you'd like to know a little bit about any future webinars we have, that slipped away there. We also have an upcoming webinar on ES6 with Wes Boss, who's a great JavaScript developer and web developer. So thank you again for your time and have a great day. Thank you.